Are you struggling with aphids in your garden? Do you have plants that look like this or this? Today I'll share the 3 best ways to get rid of aphids in your garden and save your plants. Hi, I'm Valerie and welcome back to Now Gardening. It's been a while and I'm so happy to be back with you guys today. I'll tell you more about what's been going on, the good and the bad, in an upcoming video, but for now, let's get on to solving that aphid problem that you have. It's hard to avoid them this time of year. If you're like most gardeners, aphids sneak up on you when you're just starting to enjoy your first flowers, it's just starting to warm up, and maybe you're having those first leaves of spinach to harvest. Now I've used these 3 methods that I'm going to talk about today on various crops ranging from roses to peas to broad beans and fava beans to turnips and of course spinach. So let's move out to the garden and get started. Well, I'm sure you've heard the saying, location is everything, and that's true with aphid control too. Last year I had some fava beans or broad beans growing in a no-dig area right next to my sweet peas. I had my sweet peas planted here and my fava beans planted over here where these cabbages are growing right now. They were planted right side by side each other and growing strong, looking great, had their first flowers when I left to go visit my family for 2 weeks. When I came home, what did I find? The fava bean crop destroyed. The plants were black, the leaves, the little seed pods that had just started to grow, even the buds were shriveled and had what appeared to be a fungal growth on them, a black fungus growing on them. Well, I knew the signs, and so right away I did a quick check for aphids. And sure enough, I found ants farming the aphids all over the broad bean crop. In case you don't know what farming aphids means, what happens is that the ants will take the aphids and place them on the young tender leaves of plants so that they, the ants, can harvest the sweet substance that the aphids produce once they're eating the leaves. The aphids eat the leaves, the ants eat the honeydew that the aphids produce. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship for everybody except the gardener. In any case, the ants were farming the aphids, the fava bean crop was completely destroyed. What was interesting though is that the pea crop, which was right next to it, was completely untouched. Now, why is that such a big surprise? Well, normally peas are a huge aphid magnet for me here in my garden. But what I really found here was that trap crops are definitely the answer when it comes to aphids. I've actually had success not only with the fava beans, I've had success with using a few sacrificial spinach plants to keep aphids off of my turnip greens, and I've used absinthe to keep aphids off of my roses. But what if you're like me and you actually wanted to have those fava beans, you want to have your spinach crop? Well, in that case, we need to move on to number 2. Before I go on, if this video is helpful, please don't forget to hit the like button so that this video will get shared with other gardeners who are looking to solve their aphid problem too. Thank you. Moving on to number 2, timing is the next lifesaver when it comes to aphid control in your garden. Now, if you see here beside me, this is a very distressed fava bean plant. The good news is this is the very last plant that I left here just in order to show you guys what would have happened if I hadn't done what I did. So what did I do? After the failure of last year's broad bean crop, I decided to try to outsmart the aphids by planting my high-risk plants like spinach and broad beans. And I say high risk because these are really prone to aphid infestations in the springtime. I decided to plant them in the fall. Now, I will say that I live in zone 8, which means that my temperatures get down to about the mid-20s Fahrenheit in the winter and about -5 degrees Celsius. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're deciding if this technique works for you or not. But what I did is I planted them in the fall. Those temperatures that I just described for my zone 8 are actually not enough to kill aphids, but they do keep the ants underground in the winter. So even though I did have a few aphids that popped up during a warm spell, I was able to quickly and easily kind of treat them because the ants were all underground and weren't helping them out. So the good news is I was actually able to have a bountiful broad bean crop this year. Lots and lots of beans, like so many beans, it's just incredible. And also spinach, just loads and loads of spinach this year. And it's because it already had a really good head start before it even got to the point that aphids were kind of woke up for the year and got involved. So this one here, you see now it's the last one, and I'll show you up close what it looks like, but it is eaten up with aphids. So what do you do in the situation where even changing the time of year that you plant them or planting trap crops next to them doesn't solve your aphid problem? So at number 3, I make a homemade pesticide which can take a couple of different forms, but I'll explain those both to you. One is using a product that we have in Europe, which is called savon noir, or black soap. It's similar to this thing we have in the US, which is called Castile soap. The way that it works is actually you spray it on and it dries out the aphids. Now, both of these require you to do a spot check on your plants before just mass applying them, because some plants simply do not take to these soapy type of treatments, which is where the second option comes in. As you can see, I always grow a lot of garlic, so the second thing that I tend to use as an organic pesticide is a garlic spray. I take about 5 to 6 cloves of garlic and I put them in a small bottle of water. I let them wait for about 3 to 4 days, but honestly, you can leave them in there for, I've left them up to 2 months before. Then I put them in a little hand spray bottle and I spray the plants. It was very effective in the middle of the winter time. It's also super effective if you have plants that are already showing signs of disease or fungal kind of infections caused by aphids. Actually, you can even use it on plants that do not have aphids, that are just having fungal problems. But I will say that in the summertime, when the aphids are super active and the ants are just working like crazy to get them onto your susceptible plants, I'll use the garlic and the soap together. And I actually have a whole other video, which I'll drop in the comments down below, that goes through how to quickly make the solution that you can apply the same day. Using these 3 methods of aphid control can ensure that you don't lose your crops or flowers, even during prime aphid season. Organic gardening, it requires a lot of resourcefulness and problem solving, and outsmarting pests is actually not only rewarding, it's actually kind of fun. Have a great week. Bye.